Though spared from complete collapse, Ridis's home has been thoroughly scorched. Ridis sits alone in one of its rooms, the air thick with the smell of char. There shouldn't be any fire creatures for miles, she grumbles. She says the monster appeared while she was playing the woodland flute last night. As to why any monsters, let alone fire monsters, appeared, well... Despite the circumstances, you ask Ridis to lead you out of the bewildering wood as promised. I did promise that, didn't I? She says wearily, rising from her seat. The poor girl is clearly still in shock. Why do you want to venture out beyond the bewildering wood anyway? She inquires, as she gathers this and that in preparation to leave. We are in search of the dragon, you say valiantly, adding, the reward will be significant should we defeat him. Honesty is the best policy. Sounds like a real risky way to make a living, she replies flatly, feigning interest. A group of Ivory Order people came through here just the other day, she explains. You connect the dots with malice. Those three, you seethe. At last, Ridis is ready to depart for the edge of the bewildering wood. Ridis's mother tells you she was once deceived by a crooked merchant and plunged into debt. Ridis has been working to repay the debt ever since her mother took ill. You lightly press your thumb and forefinger to the corner of each eye, a mixture of sadness and anger swirling within you. Ridis's mother is in no small amount of pain. The item you've proffered has no effect on her illness, but I appreciate the thought all the same, she says with a smile. Ridis's mother hands you mysterious card 3 as a token of her gratitude. Upon seeing that Ridis is with you, he steps aside and lets you through. The eastern portion of the woods certainly does not want for thick, soupy fog. You turn away, ready to lead the party deeper into the bewildering wood. "Wait just a moment, you lot," calls the voice of an older man from somewhere behind you. Ridis appears to be familiar with him. She calls him Mr. O. "Here you are, young lady," he says, handing her a slip of paper. Oh dear. Further, Mr. O explains, Ridis did not have a fire insurance policy at the time of the conflagration, and so she shall have to pay in full. "I'll thank you kindly to pay by the end of the month. Bye now," Mr. O says, receding from view as he returns to the forest. Hee. Ridis lets out a bemused chuckle, her demeanor remarkably calm for what has just transpired. She pulls the woodland flute from her cloak and begins softly playing. Ridis's ear-splitting performance, shall we say, draws monsters out from behind the trees. Within moments, they are nearly upon you. Let's do this. That's odd. I must have made a mistake, Ridis says, burying her face in her old book once more. She opens the book to a particular page and thrusts it in your face. You can't tell anyone in the village I let you see this, okay? It's a page of sheet music with a note scrawled beside it that reads, "Play this lucky tune to reverse your financial fortunes and make money woes a thing of the past." No matter how many times I played this last night, our debt never went down, she fumes, incensed. You inspect the page a bit more carefully. Off in a corner, in letters so small as to be illegible, another message reads, "May summon monsters if played incorrectly." You finally see that so long as Ridis holds the flute, this is nothing more than a monster conjuring melody. You snatch the woodland flute from her hands. "You have lost your flute-playing privileges," you inform her. "But I'll never escape from this mountain of debt without it," she cries, clearly still believing in the melody of fortune. Melanie quietly opines that while Ridis is many things, bright is not one of them. Excellent. One of the nuts flies off the tree and smacks you right on the head. The pain brings tears to your eyes. You shout the words in a loud voice. The woman's mouth hangs open wide. The words are so plain, perhaps overly so, which is precisely why they pierce the heart, she says, your cheap words somehow resonating with her. She entreats you to let her use your lyrics, imagining the royalties. You happily agree. Nice work. Congrats. Here, Ritis chirps, pushing overgrown boughs and shrubs aside. As she does, a hidden path out of the bewildering wood comes into view. At last, you are free of the bewildering wood. Praise the power of the Woodlanders, you squeal in admiration of Ritis. She giggles bashfully. You've certainly kept your promise, you say. Thank you for showing us the way. I was hoping I could join you on your quest to defeat the dragon, Ritis suddenly blurts out. She takes out her old book and thrusts another page in your face. This week's creature of fortune is the dragon. Boons may befall those who encounter him. Melanie's jaw goes slack. What is the deal with this book? Melanie asks, bewildered. I can probably pay off my debt if we can just defeat the dragon, Ritis chirps, revealing her true intentions. No, I won't dilute my share of the riches any further. No more additions to the party, you bark. Have you no heart? Are you just going to leave a young, helpless girl like me to drown in an ocean of dead and deal with that crusty old man? Ridis fires back relentlessly. I want to go. No. So goes the endless chorus of your thoroughly unproductive argument. Melanie calmly reminds you that the party in its current form stands little chance of defeating the dragon. See? You need me, Ridis says, sensing an opportunity. Your well-reasoned argument of no thwarted, you nod your head in resignation and welcome Ridis to the party. Let's do this. Don't hold back. And fight. Excellent. Let's do this. out the enemy. Excellent. Let's head to Unionville first, shall we? You see something approaching from up ahead. A monster, Melanie shouts, readying for battle. Mr. Flobby, get back here. It's dangerous out there, a young girl chides, taking the creature back to the village. It seems you've finally arrived at Unionville, a village where humans and monsters live together in peace. What a weird place, remarks Ridis lightheartedly. I like it. We aren't staying a moment longer than necessary, says an unsettled Melanie, her distaste for monsters plain on her face. Any travelers with magical little critters can stay for free, the innkeeper informs you. It appears the headman's long-standing pronouncement on the welcoming of all magical creatures also applies to you and your party. Wow, a new friend, and so big, too, the furball exclaims in glee as it rushes over to Mar. Mar stares off into the distance as the furball snuggles up to his leg. For some reason, Riddis joins in on the cuddling. Lately, a suspicious man cloaked in black has been seen wandering about the village outskirts. The old woman looks at Melanie and remarks that he was dressed just like her. The village headman is a renowned gourmet, and rumor has it he only dines on the finest foods. The man says he wishes he too could have such a lavish meal just once in his life, his deep desire for delicacies only growing with time. The little orc child is engrossed in a fairy tale. The title reads, The Legend of the Dragon. take a peek into the picture book and come across a passage that piques your interest. To where, you wonder? Then recall that this is merely a fairy tale. However does your mouth become so filthy, Mr. Flobby? Sighs the girl as she wipes the slime clean. Clearly embarrassed, Mr. Flobby murmurs, "That's not my mouth." A young boy wanders up to your group in wide-eyed wonder. You surmise his curiosity stems from the lack of travelers visiting the village. You realize you are right when he assails you with questions about your origins and adventures. The Inquisition leaves you exhausted. The little goblin sulks as he gazes upon the withering flowers he tried so desperately to take care of. He looks at you with tears in his eyes, silently begging you for help. They must be thirsty, you think to yourself. Then douse the flowers in water until... "Stop, stop!" the goblin shrieks angrily. "You're drowning them." If it were that easy, the goblin says, he would have done it himself. You ask the old man if he knows anything about the dragon. "No, sir," he answers. "All I know is that it brings more trouble to this already troubled world." "But our headman is a wise and worldly man. He might know something," he remarks, pointing at a house not far away. The child says his monster friend left the village suddenly to go back home. He claims the headman told him that he could go home when he grew up too. The little orc child pouts, "But I don't know where my home is." A quiet fur ball sits with crumbs around its mouth. The woman frowns deeply, claiming the cakes she bought for her beloved furball have all been eaten by someone else. "Travelers," you hear a voice call from somewhere. "Down here, at thy feet." You look down to see a small clump of fur by your boots. The clump of fur speaks. I am Lappy, and I should like to journey forth with thee. Lappy the furball looks at you with amiable expectations. Why do you want to join us? You ask candidly. I heard a voice calling my name, so I must find to whom it belongs, he answers with a faraway gaze. No more monsters, comes Melanie's cold reply. When you say more, do you mean Mar? You ask, but Melanie doesn't answer. Thoroughly rejected by Melanie, Lappy bursts into tears. Lappy says he has no friends because of his aged face and speech. All alone, he decided to leave the village on a journey. Your party is silenced by the crying child with the face of a grown man. It seems you tell Melanie to be nice and quip Lappy could use a friend. Exhausted from arguing with you, Melanie half-heartedly agrees. Fine, we can be friends. However, she says that they are on a dangerous journey to defeat the dragon. As such, they cannot take a child with them. Lappy leaps up and hugs her in his excitement, exclaiming, "Thou hast made me so happy." Till next time, Melanie says, peeling Lappy off of her and placing him on the ground. Though she thought all monsters to be evil, Melanie feels that the ones here are different. Finally, a friend. You bow, but before you can speak, the man suddenly introduces himself as the village headman. He laughs, then shamelessly praises his own village as being wondrous and peaceful. "And who are you?" he asks. After explaining that you are on a quest to defeat the dragon, the headman invites you to rest your feet a bit in his village. He says that he had heard rumors of the dragon when he traveled the world. You must be tired from your journey. Have a seat. I will have my chef prepare a feast, the headman says, then claps his hands twice to summon a stewardess. Extravagant dishes that you have never seen before are placed on the table before you, each one looking more delicious than the last. "You're drooling," Melanie scowls. You hadn't even noticed. You wipe your mouth with your sleeve, then gasp as you turn to Mar. Perhaps in an attempt to hold himself back, Mar is gnawing on the table corner. There, we'll eat soon, you reassure Mar while gently stroking his head. The doors fly open in the next instant, and a girl runs in. With tears in her eyes, she tells you that her dear companion, Mr. Flobby the Slime, is missing. The headman's eyes go wide in surprise. "We must find that slime right away," he says anxiously. You are starving, but it doesn't look like you'll be able to partake of the feast before you because of Mr. Flobby's disappearance. We will find your slime, and then we feast, you add quietly. Melanie reminds you that you are here to get clues about the dragon from the headman. What's the difference? Literally everything. Hunger taking its toll, you two begin to argue. "Brave heroes," the headman interjects, then bows his head. "Would you please find her slime?" It appears the story has hit a standstill until you find the missing Mr. Flobby. You need to hear the whole story from the young girl. The girl sobs, wailing about the missing Mr. Flobby. Melanie places her hand atop the girl's head and promises that your party will find her companion. The girl then hands something to Melanie. It looks like the muddy handkerchief she used to wipe Mr. Flobby. She asks Melanie to wipe Mr. Flobby with it after you find him. The girl claims to have searched the village but cannot find her friend anywhere. Regardless, looking aimlessly outside the village would be a waste of time. You decide to collect more information in the village. Melanie's friend Lappy is here. Lappy cuddles up to Melanie. Despite her hatred of monsters, Melanie doesn't seem to mind. You pour the salve onto the flowers, and they stand up tall. The goblin cries out in happiness and thanks you for your help. He then holds something out to you. The goblin stares lovingly at the beautiful flowers and gobbles them up. "Healthy flowers are the tastiest," he proclaims in glee. Did he grow those flowers just to eat them? It seems like the girl who left the headman's house ran away in tears. The elderly man says she cannot have gone far, Having no interest in children's picture books, you continue on your way. She says she saw a suspicious man in black with a slime outside the village not long ago. She claims they went northwest together. Did that man take Mr. Flobby? You resolved to leave the village in search of the pair. Though a torch is not strictly necessary, it would certainly help you find your way through the dimly lit shrine. Your footing is obscured in the dimness of the shrine. You should probably proceed with caution. You go forth slowly but steadily, taking it one step at a time. I think you made the right choice. You take a good look at the floor and see it lined in trails of viscous liquid. No doubt a slime or 200 have passed through here. It looks like poor Mr. Flobby is being held captive by the Mystery Man. Hand over that slime, you shout to the man in the dark. You speak as if I kidnapped him, he remarks, curtly turning to face you. When your eyes finally adjust to the surrounding darkness, you realize the man's clothes look eerily similar to Melanie's. Melanie's mouth falls open in surprise. It seems the man has noticed Melanie as well. It looks like the two know each other. According to the man, he and Melanie came from the same village and are far from strangers. The man's revelation makes you realize that you know almost nothing about Melanie's past. You ask Melanie about her hometown, but she holds her tongue. Then the man speaks. With forbidden magic, our clan has ensured the dragon, he begins, when Melanie cuts in. She rattles on about the man, telling you that he is Vince, a lunatic obsessed with the dragon. Vince resentfully claims that he is searching for the noble dragon to protect it. You ran away from home with your tail between your legs, he ridicules. Enraged, Melanie lunges at Vince. You have so many questions, but realize that the most pressing matter is getting Mr. Flobby back. So you ready for battle? Careful, he won't go down easy. During the fight, Vince asks, "Do you know the truth about that village?" The headman may look like a nice old man, but he keeps those little monsters around too. He begins, but before he can finish, Winifred, Hedwyn, and Berwyn of the Ivory Order appear. The three brush you aside, fixing their attention on Vince. "So you are the one who disturbs the peace," they exclaim, then charge at him. The Ivory Order and that false justice they serve are the true evil here, he retaliates, fighting back. Seeing the two parties occupied with each other, you realize this is your chance to grab Mr. Flobby. Perhaps wary of humans, Mr. Flobby dashes out when you draw near. you reach out to grab Mr. Flobby, he suddenly attacks. Lower Mr. Flobby's stamina to calm him down. Exhausted from the fight, the raging Mr. Flobby finally stops attacking. But it seems he hasn't yet come to his senses. He glares warily at your party. Find something to help return Mr. Flobby to normal. You wipe Mr. Flobby's mouth with the handkerchief you received from the girl. Then you hear a quiet voice speak. "That's not my mouth," Mr. Flobby murmurs bashfully. It looks like the girl's familiar scent on the handkerchief returned him to normal. Having regained his senses, Mr. Flobby heads back to the village. You place the increasingly sticky handkerchief in your bag. The Ivory Order and Vince are still fighting inside. It's probably best not to enter now. Lappy approaches and tells you that Mr. Flobby has returned. The girl is ecstatic that Mr. Flobby is finally back home. "I'm happy for you," Melanie says with a smile as she returns the handkerchief. The girl bows her head and thanks you deeply. Mr. Flobby looks as slimy as ever. You just hope it's a happy slime. The headman wants us to bring Mr. Flobby to him. Would you mind, you ask? Of course not, but bring him back soon, she answers with a bright smile. I am so happy to see you safe and sound, the headman exclaims, giving Mr. Flobby a hug. You explain everything that happened, including the incident with Vince and the Ivory Order. He expresses his relief that the Order will be taking care of the criminal. He then thanks you for your hard work and instructs his stewardess to prepare dinner for your party. You can feel your collective mouths watering at the sight of the lavish meal before you. You, Mar, and Riddis immediately dig in. You aren't sure where you find a moment to breathe among all the feasting. Please, eat to your heart's content, the headman insists with a smile. Once your belly is full, you realize that Mr. Flobby is gone. And then... Room for dessert? The headman asks, offering you a plate of slimy jelly. You feel your stomach churning at the very sight of it. The color strikes you as familiar, and the stickiness sends a shiver down your spine. Is this Mr. Flobby? You ask the headman, your voice trembling in disbelief. The headman looks at you with a plain expression, one that holds no malice. Is that a problem? He questions back. This dish is a masterpiece, he remarks with a light-hearted chuckle as he gazes at the jelly. And I have you brave heroes to thank for it. Had you not brought that slime back, we would not be able to enjoy this exquisite dessert. You move to leave, but the headman stops you. I try to get my meat while it's still young and tender, but at least your pet is very plump, he remarks, licking his lips. He points at Mar and asks, would you consider leaving that creature here with me? Never, you refuse flatly, not bothering to hide about it, he entreats. And then... You grab the headman by his lapels, hands trembling in fury. About the enemy. Pummel the headman with all your might. Curled up on the ground, the headman groans in pain, but insists that monsters were meant to be eaten. You hug Mar tightly, reassuring him that you will not hand him over to anyone. Mar looks at you with his round eyes and mews softly. You meet eyes with the rest of your party and reach a tacit agreement. Together, you all stand and leave. As you are about to leave the headman's house, though, the old man suddenly charges at you from behind. But Mar, the keener of you two, is quick to block his path. With a crash, Mar and the headman tumble to the ground. From the headman's hand falls a small blade. It clatters to the ground, covered in blood. You take the injured Mar to an inn where you can watch over him. You gaze at the unconscious Mar with concern. Despite the shallow wound, no amount of medicine seems to rouse Mar from the bed. I heard that my friends were in danger, so I came as quickly as I could, Lappy says. As he reaches Mar's bedside, he leans over and licks his wound. "This is what-you-call-it extract," he shouts. He explains that it is a poison extracted from a certain monster. If it enters the body, it drastically reduces one's stamina. Hearing those words, you realize the headman's blade must have been coated in this poison. Mar's condition starts to make sense. "Isn't there anything we can do?" Melanie asks. Lappy's eyes widen in realization before he places his mouth over Mar's wound and begins sucking. He then puts the what-you-call-it extract into a bottle and hands it to you. Lappy says that if you follow the road south of the village, you will reach Shoreland. He tells you to give the extract to the famous nutritionist there. Realizing that you are at fault for this, you don't hesitate to undertake the quest. But this is strange. The extract comes from a monster, so it should have no effect on one, Lappy remarks with a curious tilt of his head. "I thought a beast of that size would eat us out of house and home," she remarks, no doubt talking about Mar. You journey onward, only to see a suspicious-looking elder appear before you. A bottle of medicine. He proclaims himself a man of medicine who has discovered a revolutionary new curative. He would have one of your party drink it as a test. There's no harm in trying it, he boldly claims. Well? Only a fool would drink some stranger's filthy brew, you bark. The suspicious doctor grumbles mightily, making a fine show of his discontent as he takes his leave. You come across two men sitting on a rock. They take no notice of you or the party, but you can hear you listen in and deduce that they are a pair of thieves. You lean in, trying to hear what else the thieves are talking about. You catch pieces of the conversation here and there. Listen about that loot. Head south from the harbor and cross the mountains. It sounds like they've just told you where to find their stolen loot. You hastily grab a scrap of paper, write down what you've heard, and quietly sneak away. The harbor is closed today. Anyone seeking shoreline should move 3 spaces to the southeast. Look, you two, it's the sea, Ridis exclaims, frolicking in glee. You, on the other hand, trudge along as far as you can from the coast, ignoring the hair sticking to your forehead. Feeling something at your feet, you glance down. There's something underneath your boot. It appears you've stepped on a monster's cape, making it very upset. It attacks you in fury. You set foot inside the inn only to be greeted with the great clanging of a bell. "Congratulations," the innkeeper shouts above the joyous din. "It would appear you and your companions are this inn's 10,000th customers. That means you've won the lifetime of free stays pass." You hear a roar in the distance. According to the townsfolk, it is a very recent phenomenon. Rumor in the village has it that it might be the dragon. The man says the fishing industry is usually thriving in their seaside town, but recently nets have been coming up empty. He mentions that even the fishing harbor to the northwest has been suffering from poor hauls of late. A troubled woman tells you that there has been a rise in thefts lately. She speculates the recession to be the cause. She claims that even the cold medicine she always has on hand has disappeared. She narrows her eyes at the crowd, suspecting there is a thief among them, and offers a reward for the return of the medicine. Your ears perk up at the word reward, and you immediately agree to help expose the dirty thief. I can feel the dragon's presence. I must inform Lady Winifred, the knight mutters. You feel impatient, determined not to let the order beat you to it. You approach a woman sneaking around in a corner of town. Hearing your voice, she turns in surprise. You see a vial of cold medicine clutched in her hands. You explain that the person she stole it from needs it back. The woman begins to explain her own situation with downcast eyes. My poor little boy is bedridden, she says tearfully. He needs medicine, but I don't have any money, so I took it. Hearing her tale, you are overcome by sympathy and decide to look the other way. She thanks you and hands you something, apologizing for not having more. Medicine in hand, the woman leaves quickly. Now then, what to tell the other lady? You explain that you are unable to find the thief. Clearly saddened by the news, she explains that she keeps the medicine on hand for her husband, who gets sick quite easily. She laments that she may not have the money to buy more. Unsure if you made the right choice, you return to your journey with a heavy heart. Saving one forsakes the other. What a cruel world this is. The sign on the door reads, "The Great Nutritionist Oreo." You open the door without knocking. "Is anyone home?" you call. A muscular man emerges from the back. Praising his musculature seems to put him in high spirits. Anyone can achieve a body like this with the proper diet, he explains. So why don't we enjoy a life of love and nutritional meals together? Have mercy, you think, then immediately change the subject. You politely ask if he is the nutritionist. "Indeed, I am the nutritionist Oreo," he answers. He says he has been studying dietetics here for many years. You hand Oreo the extract and explain that your comrade is now bedridden because of it. He stares at the extract for a long time, and then opens the bottle and laps at the liquid inside. "That's poison!" Melanie shouts in alarm. The man insists that he'll be fine with his expertise of nutrition, and insists that knowledge is power, as if that will help somehow. Regardless, it seems he managed to grasp the composition of the poison with that lick, and starts concocting a nutritional supplement to counter it. However, he says he needs a spry fish, which has been difficult to catch lately. He needs a special fish to make the necessary supplement. You ask if there isn't anything he has at the ready that can help. He explains that only a certain composition will work on those affected by the extract. You wonder if it's truly possible for someone to discern that with a single lick. When he explains that you can catch one in the surrounding sea, Riddis confidently interjects. She shows you a page from her ancient tome, which explains the ecology of the fish in detail. "That book comes in handy from time to time," Melanie remarks in surprise. Oreo gasps as if remembering something. He says that his son went out fishing and, with a bit of luck, may have already caught a spry fish. It sounds like his son is fishing on the wharf. You decide to go find him. You see a young man with his line in the water and call out to him. He turns around and flexes, shouting out suddenly, "Power is power." You stare, enchanted by his bulging musculature. There is no doubt in your mind that this is Oreo's son. He asks if you have business with him. Praising his musculature seems to have put him in high spirits. Anyone can achieve a body like this with the proper exercise, he explains. So why don't we cast our needless garments aside and train together? Have mercy, you think, then immediately change the subject. Though you are pretty sure of the answer, you ask the young man if he is the nutritionist's son. "That I am," he answers. He introduces himself as Bruno and says he is learning to be a nutritionist like his father. You introduce yourself, expressing to him that you are a hero on a journey and require a spry fish to save your ill comrade. His eyes begin to sparkle the moment you utter the word hero, and he becomes engrossed in your tale. More or less grasping the situation, he regrets to inform you that he has not caught any spry fish yet. He says that a monster has settled near their town, and its thundering roars have scared most of the fish away. You know Oreo needs a spry fish to make that supplement. Hearing the despair in your voice, Bruno speaks, his words like an ember in the dark. He tells you that there is a harbor near town where fishermen gather. Perhaps you can find the fish you seek there. You thank him for the information, then head to the harbor with your comrades. Just as you are about to leave, Bruno offers to escort you there. Is it a reward you're after? You are about to ask. But Melanie smacks you on the head before you can voice it and allows him to come along. She laments that she may not have the money to buy more. Bruno looks ecstatic that he was allowed to join your party. When you ask him why, he tells you that his dream is to be an adventurer and has thus been training every day. But his father, famed in the world of nutrition, forced him into following in his footsteps. One desires strength, the other knowledge. Unable to see eye to eye, the two fight nearly every day. What will you ask Bruno? You ask Bruno about his sword arm, saying you are something of a swordsman yourself. Bruno replies that he specializes in hand-to-hand combat, then flexes his bulging biceps as proof. Apparently, he only carries around a sword to look like an adventurer. Curious about his attire, you ask why he does not wear armor. He confessed that he once wished for armor, but deemed it unnecessary after gaining so much muscle. In that moment, you realize something. While his passion for being an adventurer is true, he is dumber than a sack of rocks. The words "birds of a feather flock together" run through your mind, but you quickly chase them away, afraid of what that means for you.